Hello beautiful people, so today's tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make this two-tier dress that has a frills or a flounce as you may call it, and it serves as part of the sleeve and it also gives the dress beauty. This dress is easy to make, even a beginner can achieve this style easily. Lastly, I want to thank all my subscribers for their support, and if you're new to this channel, please do subscribe. Thank you. For this project, I'm going to be using this Flora 2 fabric, which is almost 3 yards, and for my lining I'll be using this light wheel lycra, which is 3 yards, and lastly I'll be using my zipper. So I'll be using my basic bodice pattern for this, and I have a well-detailed tutorial of how I drafted this basic bodice pattern is up on my channel. I'm going to drop the link on my description box below. So I'll be making use of the waist. I'll stop at the waist, so it will be half scale bodice pattern. So this is the front bodice pattern, and I'm going to cut off from the waist down because I won't be needing that part. So now from the shoulder, I'm going to divide it into two and get the midpoint. When I get the midpoint, I'm going to connect the midpoint to my dart line. I'll be connecting the midpoint of the shoulder to my dart line with a straight rule, as you can see from the video. So next I'm going to slash open this pattern, following from the dart leg, one of the dart leg, up to the shoulder, as you can see, and then next I'm also going to cut off the other part of the dart leg. For this front pattern, we're going to cut out 3 pieces. I'm going to label them so that you don't get confused. This is the side front, so we're going to have two of these, and this is the center front, which will be on fold. We'll have one of it. So right now I'm with my fabric. I'm going to fold it into two, and I'm going to place the front pattern, that is the one on fold, this part. So the folded parts will be on the folded part of the fabric as well, and then I'm going to mark ½ inch by the sides because that's what I'll be using to attach it to the other part. So this is my adds as my sewing allowance, and also at the down and at the shoulder parts, and then I will cut it off. So this is how it looks like when you open it up. That is the center front on fold. This is how yours should come out as well. So next I'm going to be cutting the side front. I'll be closing our bust dart, as you can see from the video, and then I'll place it on my fabric and cut as well. So now I'll be cutting 2 of these side fronts, and the way I place my fabric, I make sure that this side I'm giving my allowance which I want. I'll be using 1.5. Then the other parts which I'll be joining, I'll be using ½ inch at the bottom and ½ inch at the sides, where I'll be joining it with the center front, which I just cut, not quite long. When I'm done marking all points, including the shoulder, I'll go ahead to cut it out. So I'll be having 2 of these sides fronts. This is how it looks like when you open it up. I'm going ahead to also bring this center front, the one I cut on fold, and place it together so you see how it is. So this is the front piece. This is how it looks like. This is how yours should look like. We'll proceed to the back parts. So now we'll take the basic bodice pattern for the back. Like I did for the front, I'm going to cut out from the waistline because I don't need it. So next I'm also going to divide the shoulder into two the same way I did for the front. Get the midpoint and draw a vertical line to connect it with the dart. Next, I'm also going to slash open from the dart from one part of the dart leg and then the other part of the dart leg, the same way I did for the front. So now for this back part, we're going to be having 4 pieces because we're going to be cutting 2 each. So I'll fold my fabric and then I'll be placing the one that has the zip first. As you can see, I'm giving my zip allowance, which is 1 inch. I'm going to connect it from the tip all the way down. I'll be adding 1/2 inch at the bottom as well, and also 1/2 inch at the sides. And when I'm done, I'm going to cut it off. So I'll be having 2 of these parts, which is the zip parts for the back. So this is the side back, which is different from that of the front, because for the front we have to close the bust dart, so it's also good you label them as well. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabric in two and also indicate the lines, the sides, which I gave 1.5 inch, and the part where we'll join them together I gave my 1/2 inch at that part and also 1/2 inch at the bottom. So I'm going ahead to cut it off. So this is how it looks like. So I'm going to open them up for you to see. So this is the center part where the zip will be. So the midpoint is where the zip will be, and that other 2 parts, which I will be aligning them properly now, those will be the sides for the back. So in total we have 4 pieces for the back, and for that of the front we have 3 pieces, as you can see. So now, in order to cut our flounce, I'm going to measure the front part, the length. Our length is 17 for that of the front. I'm going to measure it. You will need these measurements in order to cut your flounce. That will determine the radius. So after getting that of the front, I will also measure that of the back as well, which is 15 inches. So if you notice, I took all my measurements from that shoulder point which we slashed open, because that is where we'll be inserting the flounce. So let's proceed in drafting the flounce. For the flounce, I'll be cutting a full circle. So when you get your pattern, you fold it into 2 and fold it again. So you have 4 folded parts. So it's at that tip you'll be getting your radius from. So now I took these measurements, my front length and my back length, which is 32. Then I minus 4 inches because I don't want it to get all the way to my waist region. So that figure I got, I divided by 6.28, which is the standard measurement, and I got my figure for the radius. So next, this other line I'm drawing is how long you want it to be. So this flounce will also serve as your sleeve to your dress. So depending on how long you want it to be, I use 3.5 because that's where my pattern stop. I'm going to extend it more. I'll be giving the circle a curve. You can start from that very tip, that is half of it, or at this other edge. That's why using your pattern paper, we give you guidance of what points to curve your circle. So I'll start from the tip to this other edge. I'm going to give it a curve. This curve enables it when you are attaching it. It gives it a perfect fit, especially when it's gets to the waist region, when it's coming down. So at the shoulder parts it's much fuller, and when you start sewing at the down, it's reduce the flay. So that's the essence of this curve. So I'm going to cut 2 of this, and then I'm going to attach it together because I want it to have this gathered effect. You can cut one, it's still perfect, but I just want it to have this gathered effect because I'm using a very soft tulle net. So I just want the beauty to be pronounced. So this is the point I'm going to attach it. I'm going to sew it together, and this will form my shoulder point. After opening it up, it's the inner circle I'm going to gather, not the outer part. The outer part will fall on my hands. So it's this inner part I'm going to gather and then attach it to the main bodice. Yes, so this is the front part is at the top and the back part is below. I folded the front part so it can contain on my table. So this is where we're going to be attaching this flounce now. So first of all, we're going to be joining the shoulder of the front piece and that of the back piece together. So now the front piece, the one on fold, we merge with the zipper part of the back. Then the two sides of the back piece will merge with that of the front piece. As you can see from the video, it illustrates it much better. I've gone ahead to attach all the shoulders together, the side back and the center front together with the center back where the zipper is. So this part is where I'm going to be attaching this flounce, that's midpoint. So I'm going to be sandwiching this flounce together with it. So I will start with that shoulder. That's joining I did aids as a guide. I did on the flounce, aid as a guide to the shoulder part. Right now I'm going to spread the gathered stitch evenly throughout that line, as you can see, throughout that space that we're going to attach both the center, front and the sides together. So after spreading my flounce throughout, I'm going to sew it. So the flounce will be sandwiched in between the center front and the center back and the side front and the side back. So I'll also do same on the other part of the blouse. So I've gone ahead to attach it. This is how it looks like. So this is it, the right part of it. So the right part of it is neat and the joining will be inside of the dress. So next I'm going to attach it by the sides. So I'll attach the two sides together. Next we'll proceed in making the skirt part of the dress. So for the skirt part, to get this first layer, what I did was I minus my shoulder to my knee length from the bodice. So what I got is 18 inches. So next, to get the yardage, depending on the amount of fabric you have, you take your waist measurement times 2 will determine the yardage you will be using. So next, for the down part, the third part of the dress, so I got my full length minus my shoulder to my knee length. So that figure gave me this part that I cut into 2. So I was not having enough fabric, so that's why I cut them into 2 so I can join them together and gather. To determine the yardage, you are going to times 2 of that first layer you gathered to get this, or you can times 4 of your waist measurements. For the flounce, this is the essence of the curve I did earlier. By the time you are sewing it, it narrows down. So next, I'm going to attach the first gathered layer to the bodice of the dress. After attaching the first layer to the dress, I'm going to add my zipper to it. So I'm done attaching the layer and also the zip part of the dress. So next I'm going to be attaching the third layer. So this third part, I've gone ahead to sew the two of them together, and I weave them before I give it this gathered stitch. So this is how I'm going to attach it. I'm going to be attaching it at the top directly like that. So I'm going to sew it all through till I get to the end. For the lining part, I cut my normal basic bodice, both for the front part and that of the back part. So first of all, I'm going to be stitching the neckline. So I'll get the shoulder parts and attach the shoulder to shoulder and then sew the neckline. You can also cut your lining in pieces the same way you did for this particular pattern of the dress, but I prefer mine in one piece. So after attaching the neckline, I'm going to teach you how to attach the armhole because it's different because of this flounce we attached. So I'm going to open up the zip part, and then after sealing up the neckline, as you can see, so now I'm going to get the armhole from the lining, as you can see the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to turn the lining over, and this is how I'm going to sew the armhole so that the armhole will be neat as well. I believe the illustration of the video explains it much better compared to my voiceover. So just watch the video slowly. Yes, you will understand what I mean. So after placing it rightly, you go ahead to sew it, and when you are done, this is the outcome of it. The armhole is properly attached neatly. As you can see, this both the inside and the outside part of it is neatly finished. And at this point, we are done with this dress. Please do give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. See you in my next tutorial.